the elephant in the room. As Megan to respond.
So I caught the last half of your comments.
My apologies.
So my response to that is we go through a process. We've gone through the process. Meg, no longer a employee of the town as of Monday. Wish her well, and we need to move forward. So I brought a copy of the hiring policy. I emailed the board on Tuesday, inviting folks to come chat with me if they had time during the week. I appreciate folks that came by and were able to chat. And look forward to working with all of you to move forward. I acknowledge that the process last time was not didn't feel good to everybody, so I'd like to change that process. And I'd like the board to consider putting together a subgroup so that we can work together on job description and the hiring process moving forward.
So without disclosing the personal information that's required to be confidential, what is the process that HR goes through when an employee who is engaged with a committee is no longer going to be with the town? Is that something that is decided by HR manager and then it's notified to the selectman first, and doesn't come to this board in particular? A lot of concerns about folks having a period of time where Meg wasn't here. We were led to believe she was returning. At some point, the town knew she was not returning. Then what Esther was basically scuttled for a period of time. So now we found out through your email that she was no longer with us. So I just
Sure, I'm just gonna stop you. So, we don't know that somebody's not gonna be working for us until we know. So that's not something that is advanced notice or,
Somebody knew.
Maybe in HR.
so
Who is we?
ask the question again, who's we,
You
like,
just said we don't
Yeah, you
know
just said we
until
don't know who's-
someone's
Who's
not
we?
working.
myself
Who's
and,
we?
the town management, right? So
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
there's
Someone
not
knew.
much, there's not much that I can share here, right? And because we have to be respectful of our employees and the people who have worked for us and will work for us. We certainly can't create a culture where we're discussing people's employment in open meetings. It's just not appropriate. People, have the right to privacy and, the town has to do their job. And it's time to move forward. There's nothing else I can discuss in this meeting that's appropriate.
There is some responsibility in the part of Christine, and I'm ready to lynch it right now. After what we went through last year, and the hell I went through with him and this position. And we came out fine on the other end, and then this happens, and we get no notice. About what's happening. It's unconscionable, absolutely unconscionable.
It's
And
not,
this
it's,
happened before the town meeting, probably before the review of Christina. Yeah, and he ought to be here today.
it's not about the subject matter of why she's no longer here. Keep in mind, this is all about notifying
Notification.
this board.
Notification, yeah.
I
Talk about
notified
respect.
the board the morning after I knew. So whatever took place on Monday afternoon. The select board was notified that evening and an email went out to this board Tuesday morning.
Yes, but it was
Well,
all
that's
over
not
town
right.
before that.
Well, I can't control the rumor, unfortunately.
Well, that's all. What date are you talking about, the Monday date that you're mentioning?
Oh,
June 2nd.
June 2nd.
Okay.
But meanwhile, we were hanging.
Why were
I can't comment. There's
Well,
nothing I can comment
and
about.
we
I
go
said
back-
that she was not
Yeah.
here. She was not here. And that we were moving forward and that there was, Maria and myself were in place to help the staff, the very new staff. And that's all I can comment on. She was not here. Nothing else I can share.
They're not good enough.
You say that silence is driven by personal issues. Is it driven by legal issues? What's going on?
It's-
Is
I-
there
we-
a lawsuit that is creating the silence?
There's
Is
no
there a lawsuit?
silence, there's going to be silence no matter what the situation is.
I have a very simple question. Is there going to be a lawsuit?
I can't speak to that. There's nothing I can say about
I guess there's just no way, excuse me, that our relevance can be reinstated. Because we are seen as irrelevant. It was all over town before anybody knew.
Oh, yeah.
We were very skeptical about the hiring process the last time. And it was a total shock to us. It was sent to us through HR at that time when Meg Stewart was hired. On a Thursday afternoon or whatever it was. We had received calls from Diane Pico 4 days or 5 days before that she had not gotten the job. We were very interested in what was going on. It was this huge hoo-ha-ha, and not to mention waste of time and money and energy to get the quote right fit. And so we were skeptical, very skeptical, because of the lack of training and because of an experience in our field. But then she came to the fore that we saw. I don't know, maybe she wears purple underwear on ceilings. I don't know what her person is. But, and then, so we get used to that and things are going well. As a matter of fact, the attendance has never been better. Here at the seniors, the programs have expanded. People are happy about everything. The money is good. And all of a sudden, and now nobody can say, it's very convenient. We haven't had, we used to have liaisons to this board from various committees around. That was stopped a few years ago because we were told from town hall that it was too many meetings for people that they couldn't spare the, whatever. So with no representation, with nobody going back to town hall with an actual, do they read the minutes over there? Is anybody watching this? At town hall? I don't know. And that's not my business who's watching, but somebody should be. And I just think to ruin people's lives the way that has been done is unconscionable. This isn't the first time. I mean, maybe I've just been here at the senior center too long. I'm just too old. My sell-by date is so fast approaching. I haven't passed it. So that's all I have to say. I just, and it's nothing personal against you, you're a lovely person. Nothing against you. You're doing what you've been told to do. But I don't know where we go from. You say move forward. Move forward.
the hiring.
Oh, well, what hiring process?
Yeah.
Because
Which was a sham the last time.
it was a sham the last time. We had surveys, we had people signing papers, we had a special committee. We had votes. And it was all in favor of it. My understanding afterwards was that the interviews went very well. Blah, 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 and all of a sudden she's out. 5 years of training in the job, having done the job for close to a year. Very confident. Well, things needed tweaking. We should give them the opportunity to tweak. Probably not. It was just decided, and this has happened in the police department, fire department. And the turnover at town hall has been. We had the town clerk leave in the middle of her. After she'd been elected, in the middle of her term, for whatever reason, I don't know, but everybody knew her for 20 years. She isn't the type of person who just throws her hat in the air and says goodbye. So so if you want to know about a hiring process, stick to it.
If you've got a hiring process, then stick to it.
Exactly.
Well, we were
Thank you.
promised this hiring process.
Yeah.
When I fought the fight and lost with the town, the appointment of this director. And this is what was based on, that when this came up again, we certainly didn't think it was gonna come up 8 months later or 4 months after the vote. We'll promise a hiring process, so, I'm okay. But I would like to know, Meg said to me, we're not gonna start the hiring process right away. I asked, is this because she had a contract till September that we have to fulfill? I didn't get an answer. I'd like to know what the situation is. Right now, the HR, Meg and her staff, Megan and her staff are in here running the senior center. I have grave misgivings about that. I think it's the town manager putting his foot in the door and taking over now. Or at best, combining us with recreation, the library, and the senior center as somebody running that whole show. And that's not what we had in mind. I'm curious, and I said, Christina and I better not cross paths.
And he doesn't show up at meetings. He sends people. And even on, and not innocuous things, we squawked several months ago and he sent two people to talk to us about veterans programming or something. And it's something we didn't have and they didn't know. We didn't have, I mean, just unprepared people.
Well, I can speak about, the concern that we're interested in taking over, and I talked about this a little bit in one of our meetings. So Maria and I are here, you don't need us anymore, we're leaving. So once there's, a director in place and an assistant director in place, which we're in final interviews for currently, we're not sticking out here. We have other things to do, and we're here to support the team here and all of you. And when that's done sufficiently, we will be gone. We're not trying to take over.
I would like to know who appointed you to do this.
So I'm the director of community services. So I am in charge of the library, elder affairs, recreation, safe harbor, and veterans on a very high level.
Okay,
So that's why I'm here.
I did a lot of work this past week. You weren't here, but some of us were here. When we joined the Council on Aging, the Massachusetts Council on Aging. And we went through a lot to do it. We worked hard, very hard. So I did a lot of work this week, researching, going through, seeing what our mission as a board is and what our responsibilities are. And I think perhaps it's going to be a matter of you as HR understanding that you're not necessarily held to running senior center. The board is actually in charge of working with the public, working with people here and working with, and I'm saying this with HR, but not HR marching in there and taking over. And the board doesn't even know what it's all about. So that's going against what our principles are and what we have here. So I think that has to be a starting point right away. Is to understand what our mission is, to understand what our position is. And to be able to work with us, not in your own vein and then telling us 2 weeks later. But working with us continuously.
So I'm looking forward to working with all of you. So I'm here. And, but I will say that the staff reports to the director and the director reports to me and I report to Chris. That's the chain of command. So while I encourage us to all work together, there is a vein there that the board is not in charge of the staff. And so
I didn't say we were in
Right,
charge.
right.
Nobody said we were in charge at all.
You keep saying they- It's being recorded, but I'm getting feedback right there. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you. I know that we haven't last year started something. Didn't get off on the right foot. Hoping to change that and I understand what you're saying is that you want a more collaborative atmosphere. I hear you.
Much more.
I hear you.
Much more. And I don't think that the verbiage you used about you and your person with you, that's coming in here to take over. Stop that. It should be the board working with you to identify what's needed for the staff.
So what would satisfy the board? Because we have a very unique situation here where we started a year ago that the preferred candidate was Diane because she had been here for 5 years as the assistant director, 5 years in the 10 years experience as a director. So we were looking for somebody with that level of experience because we knew Liza was going to retire. So what has happened in the last 90 days or so is that we lost all 4 full-time people who knew anything about elder affairs and council of any level of experience. Diane's gone. Liza left. Richie left. Meg was the only one that was left here with 6 months worth of experience, and she's gone.
Patty left too.
Patty left.
Huge, but it
So, what this board is looking for is a direct input from HR on a regular basis over at least the next 8 months to where we understand what these positions are that need to be filled, what type of job descriptions we can help you with and understand. We're not certainly going to go through interview processes. But certainly we need to understand what we're filling, because we don't, when Nancy was here, her and I worked on restructuring the full-time positions to kind of figure out what do we need and then identify part-time rate making hours plus positions to help us grow the facility. And then Nancy took it over. So I worked on it with Diane. We submitted that to you. And kind of restructuring, so. I worked on it with Meg, so Meg had.
So I think it's, I think we need to lay out how communication happens and how frequently and with who. That would be really helpful to me, because I'm happy to continue to do my Friday emails, operation emails, but it would be very helpful to me if there was a subcommittee that was focused on these types of things that I communicate with. Because this is not something I've experienced with any other board, which is fine. Every board is different. I don't, so, and I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm happy to start communicating better. I just need to know with who and how often, and so that we can, so I can do this better for all.
I'm having trouble with this me business. It's all about what you can do. We want it to be that the board and you.
I understand that, but I need to hear again what you need from me so that I can collaborate.
I think he
Well,
just made it very clear.
Right, so
I'll
if
make it
there
very
is a
clear.
subcommittee, who's on that subcommittee? If we can talk about that now, that would be great. And then communication can move that way.
So
So I can work with that subcommittee and then communication is straight from there.
So do we want to have 3 people, not more than 5, on the subcommittee for HR?
Yes.
Yeah.
So 3 or 5.
I think 5.
Happy. 1, 2, 3.
That's great. Thank you.
So
Who's up?
so far it's Tana, Jen,
David.
Diana. Anyone else want to be on this committee? So we have a subcommittee of 3. So I'd like to make a motion.
No.
No. We're all set.
So I'd like to make a motion to have a subcommittee for HR, human resources aspect of elder affairs. Subcommittee is consists of 3 board members.
Great.
Great. Jim Tanner.
Second emotion. On the motion, All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. What's up, Emily?
Also, comment, if you don't mind, that once we have these, get these job descriptions or all this collaborative work, that in fact it's adhered to. I don't, you're a nice person, I like you, but this idea of doing all the work and then having it totally ignored.
Yeah.
Especially in the area of, one thing we questioned about the last hire was the lack of experience with a senior center, when we had a senior here. But we had the resume, we had all of it, and none of it was adhered to. We're told this much experience, this, of course, this borders, I mean, there's wiggle room for everything. But, and it was ignored, totally, and just, and I feel sorry for that woman. I don't know what happened, or why, or whatever it was. But she's a human being, and she shouldn't have been played like
Somebody's got a comment?
Yes, please. Mary Kay is here and Liz is here. It now could be an opportunity to talk about some of the issues that are going on at the senior center, where boots on the ground are meeting issues that perhaps the HR department and our relatively brand new hires who are running the department are contending with, and lots of things are falling through the crack. And these might be things that we're all not aware of here in this office, this meeting. So if I could ask Mary Kay to let us know on some of the things that she's challenged.
I think that we, in the cafe, because we've been bringing a large group of people, but we're hearing questions and lots of complaints on fear, they're fearful of what the changes are. So what we've experienced is Beth and I talked about we're fish drivers, and our last 2 or 3 fish drives have been really boggled. We've shown up. The person, I always call first to tell my person I'm coming. They weren't there. By the time I got there, I knocked, I called again, I went back. And then I called the office and she said, hold on, and she couldn't get the person. So then I drive away and she drives away, and you feel terrible. You're leaving this person who has a doctor's appointment, something. And the other thing we experienced today, which was really big for all of us, was one of our people, Jane, goes to Alabama from November until spring. And then it's a joke that it's a sign of spring and good weather when Jane comes back, but Jane didn't come back. And our people were very concerned about, where is she? Why isn't Jane come back? We can't call her. We don't know how to get a hold of her. And Joe Coggins told me, he brings her in and I always drive her home. Joe Coggins told me it's where he happened to bump into her this weekend and was like, Jane, where have you been? And she said, and I had no one's reached out to me. I had no one's called me about a ride. And she has some, a little bit of confusion, and she doesn't maybe know how to go about doing that. So no one reached out to get in touch with her about coming back. So all the people at her table were very concerned, like, where have you been? We're worried about you. So we're seeing what they're going through. And Meals on Wheels are saying things, and we're really concerned. We don't want to lose people. We took a long time to build this up, all the classes. We hate to lose anybody because there's no one to reach out to.
Yeah, and that's the whole fish fry thing is like topsy-turvy, and I went in to say something to Sue. So Sue was hired to be the shine person once a month. She's trying to do the fish rides, and Trisha's, the social worker, is trying to do the fish rides. Both of them don't know what they're doing. And apparently all the programs have been changed in the last few months, but none of them know how to run it. I'm confused because I don't even know who's supposed to be doing what. That has not been communicated. You're HR and you're supposed to be in charge. I honestly haven't even seen you here when I've been here. But Katie, who was hired as a part-time receptionist, now seems to be running the center. I'm like, okay, that's a big leap. Sue was supposed to be here once or twice a month by appointment. She seems to be here trying to do a job of all trades. There's other new people were hired. I don't know what they do. We don't know what's going on.
It really
And
is.
there does not seem to be any consistency. So even if you put out to us, okay, I'm the big big head in charge here. But this is, you know, Katie's doing this job, Sue's doing this job, like, this is all temporary, I know, but none of us know who's supposed to be doing what. Yeah, and they don't even really know, they're playing catch up and, you know, we're getting. I got my last fish fry email like 2 days ahead, which usually there's more notice, but they sent it to the wrong email, and then someone's like, oh, by the way, you're doing this, and I was like, this is the first I've heard of it. It's very.
I got 2 calls in 1 week. Can you do a fish fry? When is it? It's in an hour. I can't, I'm sorry. And then
Yeah.
again, you start to think about the person who doesn't have a ride to where
Yeah,
they're
to
going.
their medical appointment.
My husband's been driving fish over 20 years, and there have been complications the last 2 months. We did make it. There was a panicky phone call from the person, her sons. And so that does need to be addressed. That having been said, we can't accommodate. There are a lot of things that are quote old fashioned. Well, once all of our old people die, then maybe everybody will have a computer, but not everybody does. So zipping off an email to say your ride has been changed or this, that, it doesn't happen. Or we used to have a call list, didn't we? And people got called regularly, just a how are you kind of thing. And that seems to have gone away.
Right, the office would have known
Yeah.
Jane is back
Yes.
and would have called her and said,
Do you need a ride?
do you need a ride? And Bob, do you have anything to address on Meals on Wheels? I know Ann Sexton has had a few nightmares.
I have very little to do with Meals on Wheels
Okay.
as far as that goes. That was something Meg was working on with, I believe, South Shore Elder Services, whatever, to
Right.
clean up how that was done. And they were going to reach or, I guess, manage the program as opposed to us having to try and manage that program.
So,
But I don't really know, Ken.
so when, and one of Ann Sexton's stories is equally frustrating when she's delivering the meal and there's a message on the sheet that this meal is for a cardiac patient. And if they don't answer their door, they, you need to call us. Well, the message should have been written on there as well. On Thursday, she has PT or something, and no wonder she wasn't answering the door. So instead, after a long telephone chain, the police go for a wellness check. And all it needed was the note, as well as cardiac patient, was Thursdays, she's out at PT. So that's all it needed. And so she had a few other stories like that without getting into detail, but these are the kinds of details that Liza did roadly. And it's not happening here. And also, and I explained this to Maria, these people that are involved with fish or Meals on Wheels now, oftentimes when they're younger, they were in this building or a building, whether it's community center or this building, but now they're 10 years older and now they're outside of this building and having these services. So there's still the same people that have been in this elder community. And so we need to treat them as kindly as we did when they walked in the door, as they are now in their own home.
This all seems like minutia, and it is, but that's what's needed. I mean, and
Well,
that's
and
what we're
it's part
here
of the bigger
for.
picture, right? So even though I'm hearing details of things, right, the bigger picture here is that it sounds to me within, the staff turnover, there's been some things that have been lost. And I'm sorry that happened. And we're gonna need your help to create that list back of folks that need touch base if we don't have that. And we're gonna have to connect with Meals on Wheels. I know we had some changes in the last month or so where Meals on Wheels, South Shore Elder Services actually gave us a coordinator. So it's somebody who also works at the Situate Senior Center doing the Meals on Wheels. So we need to connect with that person and see, you know, what was communicated, what wasn't communicated, how we can make that smoother as well. So it's important that we hear all of these things, and I'd love you to keep them coming. We can't fix anything if we don't know. And so, the big picture here, it sounds like we're dropping a lot of details that our previous staff, were aware of, and that our new staff, and so we need to be better to pick up some details.
It could be helpful for you. Speak with Katie.
So, yes, I mean.
But yeah, but who's in charge? That's what we need to know. Is Katie the one that handles those details? Is Sue, is Trish? Who's supposed to be
So right
doing the
now,
big picture?
sure, right now Sue is managing transportation. That's a temporary thing. And so we need to work with her and see.
On fish.
She's handling the whole thing.
Finish Transportation, yes.
Just for
Did
a
that
little
just
bit of,
happen? Because I got told different last week.
Well.
And
Check
what's-
question.
what's Katie-
I
what's
was told
Katie's
last
job?
week that it was Tricia.
I thought she took over Richard. No,
Katie is
I
at
thought
this.
she did
Katie
a
is
terrific
Richard.
job.
That's what we need to know, who's equivalent to who.
Yeah,
So
we
Sue
need
is
to know that
live
because I was
as
told
far as-
differently last week.
So Sue is.
What's on the second? Who's on first?
Yeah.
it's like the
Yeah.
guy
No.
that's selling them, spinning
Yeah.
plates.
Yeah.
Were you at any time presented a new org chart?
Yes.
Yes, okay, okay. I wish I had it, but, great. So,
You're in charge, you should have. Old chart.
Here it is.
awesome, thank you.
Here's-
So this is the org chart that, was the last one, so Katie is the administrative assistant. I can hold this up if this is, so Katie's the administrative assistant. The assistant director position is vacant, then we have outreach manager, social worker, and, program assistant, which is vacant. Kitchen coordinator is Joan. Bob is our lead van driver, then we have Steve Chamberlain, who's our, just regular van driver. There was monies put in the FY 26 budget for an additional van driver. So we're hoping to make that happen. We can talk about that, outside of the
On that
meeting.
org chart,
Yes,
who do you have for fish?
so fish is gonna be, the transportation. So right now, that's needs to be done by our outreach manager, which is Sue. Eventually, transportation is gonna be under the assistant director.
Is this part of the four? It's just- Yeah, okay, so that's part of that. So, but right now, currently, as of today,
Yes.
it's Sue.
Sue and and Julie at the front desk. So Julie at the front desk is booking regular, you know, things
And is
around
that how
town.
that's put up? Is that how that's set up?
So there's no, oh, the front desk, is here, yeah.
So that is perfect, the way it is. That is how it is today. Okay,
Yes.
where is Tricia on that?
Trisha, social worker, is here.
And that's her only responsibility?
Yes, she's very part-time.
That's in change from last week.
Trisha might be pitching in, but she's very part-time. She's only here a couple hours a week. So
What is Julie doing?
Julie does what?
Julie works at the front desk. Yeah.
Does,
And so she helps with kind of our regular transportation, so like going to stores, things like that, she can go right in and book. And you can jump in if you like, she can go right in and book, but some of the more complicated ones are being helped by others.
So what I wanted to let the board know is part of what is going on here, and it's certainly not an excuse, but under the guise of a perfect storm with everything else that's going on, we're in the process of trying to change programs that we use to manage our ride system. The old one was somewhat antiquated, but Liza, because Liza was Liza, she had booked stuff out almost 6 months in advance. We are still trying to get all of that stuff collected back so that we can add it to the new system, which is part of the My Senior Center when you come through the kiosk. That's where that is all managed. I can manage rides for shopping and the things that I do. I can manage from the computer at my house as opposed to having to worry about it. So when we deal with somebody calling in that wants to go to Stop and Shop, that ride profile is already built a month out. So all it needs to be is added to. So we are not missing out on that type of stuff. It's just the integration of the fish stuff as you managed, which was under this program called COATS, which we're trying to rein in and add to the My Senior Center stuff. So we're having a little bit of growth problems is what it comes down to. And Sue is handling medical rides. That's what she handles. I handled the rest of the rides. So between the two of us, we're trying to manage this, and we're having a little bit of problem getting that up and running. So hopefully, I'd love to stand here next month and tell you that we have this under control, but we do know that we're having hiccups and we're working very hard to try and manage those. Hence, as Mary Kay says, somebody gets a last notice because all of a sudden it's like, hey, I had a ride scheduled and I scheduled it 2 months ago. And it's like, oh, we didn't see it. So we're trying to do that. And what happens is, as I said, I don't do medical rides. I do the other rides. Steve Chamberlain handles medical rides, a lot of them anyway. And then the ones that he can't handle or are scheduled on top of each other get moved toward the fish profile. But as Megan has mentioned, we're in the process of trying to get another driver. Part of the problem with me is I am restricted. Forget about the 19 hours for the town. I'm restricted by my retirement. And I'm certainly not gonna mess up my retirement, guys. I love you all, but I'm not gonna mess that up. I like the check when it comes in once a month. So the net result is that we're hiring a third driver. We're in the process of hiring a third driver to handle Mondays and Tuesdays mostly, so that we can get people to and from cafe. It's one of the big targets that we've got. Or to get to everybody to the Tuesday Top Chef program, which right now I'm driving to and from, and I'm bumping myself off the 19 hours and over the top of that. And that can't continue. So a third driver is in the new budget, and hopefully we'll get it squared away for July 1, so that we can start to address some of these other problems. And we may have even less of a need to push medical rides into the fish program, because we have a second driver that will be able to work 19 hours a week, Monday, Tuesday, whatever's needed, but then additional hours during the week. So that's kind of a high view of where transportation lives right now. And what we do realize we have some hiccups, and Sue is doing her best, but you've already said it multiple times today. With Liza leaving, there was a big hole. And we're trying to address those things. She was, without a title, she was the director of operations for this senior center. And we don't have that right now.
Where does the hiring process?
So
Yeah.
that code software that she used that code software for 30 years. And I had a friend of mine, when we moved here, upgraded because the company that made the software was no longer in business, so we need help with that. He upgraded the software so she could be using it for everything. And then the software that we bought through the Prince many years ago, we're still up on Main Street, My Senior Center. That was a company that started doing senior centers, and we were one of the few that came in and bought it, so they were going through a learning curve. So not everything in that software for My Senior Center was conducive or intuitive for us to use, right? So now they did meet with them. Meg reached out to them and said, hey, your software was never that great, what's new and improved. So a big part of that was the transportation piece of it. So they migrate the data from into this software, which is it's not as easy as a download as you could think. So there was data that was not captured, which is where you're seeing the disconnect and people not getting called back. If it doesn't recognize certain fields, this column didn't get put over to this column kind of thing. So that's where the disconnect is. So I think, to Bob's point, I would suspect that within the next 30 days, it should work its way out.
So on that note, two people also said that they were putting money into their account and getting, I don't know if this will matter for keeping track, getting thank yous for their Pilates class, and they're like, I never take a Pilates, but, and wrong things for what they were signed up for. So their money was
In the
being taken
money.
out. Didn't you say something about that too, Liz?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There were other people that had examples of it too.
yeah,
Someone said, I've never had a massage.
yeah, I've never had a
I've never
massage.
massage.
Yeah,
So the money was coming from their wallet, the wallet?
Yeah.
Okay, and it was
to the, and saying that they had a massage, or Liz said, a Pilates, somebody else said a Pilates class.
as like a follow-up email, it was like, thank
I
you
don't know,
for
how does it
coming.
work, Liz? I don't
I
know.
didn't get a follow-up, but just when I
okay.
came to the desk, they said you owe us money.
I got one of
It is
those.
reflected on
I got one of
did too.
the monthly
I
bill.
got one of
is
those
supposed to capture
For a
that.
lunch that I paid cash for.
Yeah.
You're in tense right now. I think you need a massage.
As I walked in, a
Thank you for
senior
noticing.
said to the front desk, he gotten a bill for a balance class, he said, I've never taken a balance.
Yes.
So the paper bill that's being sent home
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
capturing information that's not
That's
correct.
right.
Right.
Yes.
And was there a memo due on that, or was it a
Yeah.
zero? Did you have a memo due or
I
a zero?
certainly did.
I did too.
And I'm due.
And just to quote the rumors, this extra billing isn't because the town has a deficit.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bill said being sent.
And Meg was anticipating that this could be an issue because of the transfer within the whole billing system.
Yeah.
And that's why the paper bills are being mailed monthly, whether you want them or not, you get them because it's a double check. And when these errors pop up, they can be addressed. But the fact that they've popped up, I'm surprised to hear it, so there's so many, was anticipated, actually.
As treasurer, can you start tracking the accounts receivable on this? I'm very suspicious of this program.
I cannot.
You cannot.
No, we are advisory, we are not operations. Number one, but number two, I don't know how the wallet works. I'm trying to figure out, I'm sure in time, this is all new, but there should be a second page to that billing statement that shows, okay, you put this much in your wallet, you take, and this much taken out. You can get it from a bank statement, but you should be able to have like Venmo, you have a running balance. What is my balance sitting? We don't have that yet.
Well, I just think there's gonna be a lot of these mistakes. And we're gonna have a big accounts receivable that we'll never collect.
Right, it could be in the opposite direction.
Right, right.
After my father passed away,
The person who was looking after him, my father had turned over a checkbook, certain things. She was paying things that do not pay his bill from the. So
Oh, yeah.
at the end of the time, $18,000 had been paid. Now to get that, claw that back, it was a nightmare. Insurance companies had changed, people had died. I mean, when finally got it, people understood. But
Seniors.
they were seniors. 72,000.
So is there someone specific, Megan, that is handling the aspects of the billing?
Yeah, so I'm gonna take a look at this myself. This is the first I'm hearing of this. So the my senior center was asked to create a report to run the bills about this 2 months ago with our launch. What I suspect is that my senior center did not create a correct report. So basically, the bills are just being printed from a report that we're running. Bill from this time to this time. Report gets run, we print them out, put them in the envelope. So what's incorrect here is the report that they're sending to us. So we need to take a look at that. And
Well,
again,
take a
I
look at
wasn't,
this too.
thank you. And I wasn't aware of it, so I'm happy to take a look.
Okay, can we move to the meeting?
Can I just ask one quick question about the, because of the fish and Meals on Wheel issue?
we're interviewing, we're looking for drivers. Is that a priority on your list, Meg? Because this is saying HR should be looking for the drivers. You mentioned the AD job interviews taking place. Do you have interviews in place for a driver?
So
Yeah.
we have been interviewing drivers.
You have.
And so we haven't found a fit yet, but we have been interviewing. It's been posted for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks now. So if anybody knows anyone actually that would be a good fit for a driver here part-time, we appreciate that. We just haven't found somebody that we think is gonna.
What's the bid?
Yeah, what?
What's the bid?
They have a license and a pulse.
Basically,
No.
basically, as far as the driver goes, the only vehicle that we have that you can't drive without the official training from the state is the one that I normally drive, the new bus. Because that is, the title for that is held by the state. The state mandates what training you have to have and so forth and so on. It's no special license. It's just 20 some odd hours of training that you have to take. And a lot of it is in-person training, and they only offer it occasionally here, there, and everywhere. So at one point, I was gonna have to go to Springfield to go take the training for a day. Luckily, Liza was able to schedule it here, so that Steve and I both took it, Patty took it. We had drivers available. So this new driver, especially with my report later on, was going to be that the new van that we ordered in January, it looks like tentative delivery is July 1. That van has no strings attached. Okay, that one, we don't have to worry about whatever training. Anyone that is qualified to drive with a little bit of training can drive that vehicle and get people in and out of it. So that's gonna take the handcuffs off of some of the things we do. And honestly, the number of wheelchair pickups and drop-offs I do is limited, very, very, very limited. So that's what the state requires, is you to have that type of training. So with all of that being said, the new driver, the person that Megan and Maria are trying to find, really the biggest caveat is they need to have availability Monday and Tuesday. I'm here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but Monday and Tuesday as a definite to handle those things that I mentioned, cafe especially, because we'd love to see some of the seniors that I drive don't come to cafe because they don't have a ride. And that's, to use a word, criminal. We should be able to open it up to them. And then Tuesday, as I said, the lunch is the big piece. Lunch and usually a program after the fact. And the once a month that I go, tomorrow I'm going to Market Basket in the afternoon. The one out of town trip that we do. Would we be able to do more than one with this new driver? We expect so. So it should help our driving program, having a third person, and also help with the medical rides at the same time. So that's kind of where we are with that new driver. So if you got anybody that wants to drive, really, the only real piece is Mondays and Tuesdays, they have to have availability. Past that, 19 hours a week, maximum.
And you haven't, have you had any response?
Yes, we've interviewed a few people that have been with the issue. We need somebody who's gonna have a positive attitude, that we know is gonna show up on time, is gonna be reliable, all these things are important, so.
Okay,
I have a question.
we do have an HR subcommittee of Tana, Jim, and Diana. And I hope that as a board, you contact them for any issues that you have with HR. Because this is we're going down a rabbit hole, buddy.
Okay, I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Rich, when you said the wheelchair
That's fine.
was limited, I'm sorry. You mean the requests are limited?
Requests.
Requests are limited.
Requests. Simple as
Low
that.
volume.
Yeah, okay,
Very low volume.
thank you. So my other question is the subcommittee gonna be available or be able to be involved with this process for the assistant director? Because you've said you're in final interview.
Right. And it's not noted in here that somebody would be considered.
So I hadn't considered one, but we can certainly, I can certainly bring you up to speed on where we've been and see if we'd like to meet this individual, that's all fine by me, yeah.
I think
So,
that's gonna be necessary.
great.
And the subcommittee will report with our subcommittees, in the agenda. Okay, may we continue with our meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
Is that public comment?
we haven't even gotten it. Okay, we're at the open. Now, any public comment that we haven't already heard? Anybody on Zoom, by the way, after all this?
I believe.
Could you, for public comment, is it possible, Megan, for you to come back? And talk about the farmer's market in July?
Yeah, I think I'll go for it. Should we talk about that now?
Okay, any public comment? Okay, let's go with the acceptance of minutes from last month.
Move to accept the minutes.
I wasn't here. Oh.
Do we have a motion in a second?
We do.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And now the treasurer's report. It's truncated on one copy here.
Well, nothing really big going on this month. It's been, except with the the HVAC, of course, we spent 241,000, with respect to repairs going on there. General fund, we've got only 1 month left in the fiscal year, and we have expended approximately 82% of the total budget, so we are certainly within the grant area. That's just the $437 expenditures for Julie at the front desk. That her payroll goes through the formula grant. She's the only one going through the formula at this time. And revolving fund, we're at a positive 5,814 at the end of the day. Gifts, expenditures, social welfare, as usual. Any questions or comments?
Good shape?
82% of our budget.
So do you think in July is too early to have the fiscal year closed out?
Oh, that's town hall. We don't control that. It's usually August. It's been, what else?
Okay, so the September.
The final.
Can I have a motion on treasurer's report?
Move to accept.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving records report.
So the farmer's market is starting at the end of June. This was something that the community services team took on when we heard that, it was no longer, being hosted by the woman who was hosting it. and her name-
Ellipses.
Thank you. So we've taken it on. It's been a great team effort with the planning department as well. We've had some feedback about the hours that we've listened to. We appreciate for possible changes for next year, but we're really, because we're doing this for the first time with some limited staffing, we're doing our best. But it's, the market is 4:30 to 7:30 on Thursdays. And then come September, we're moving it from 3:30 to 6:30, because of daylight, of course. Similar vendors, food trucks, we had a lot of, young folks wanting to sell crafts and things, so we have a little bit of that going on as well. It's really nice. Recreation is having their concert at the same time or towards the end of the market, so that, all of that is being combined. We also have the libraries doing story times, face painting, so it's going to be, we called it community market because it's moved a little bit just from a farmer's market to some additional family activities and music.
What happened to the hot dogs?
So from what I understand, they didn't want to do it this year. There was an email that was sent out.
That's-
They didn't give us
That's not the
any-
word on the street.
Yeah.
It's not the word on the
The
street
word
at
on the
all.
street is they were banned from the market. So
Correct.
we-
Yeah,
hoping that
they were
Yeah.
fired.
Nobody was banned from the market that I know of. We
Is
didn't
there-
put any
is there any,
parameters down on who could
restrictions? Is
join
there
and who could
health
not.
code issue that they need to be concerned with?
Oh,
Or is-
well, that might be with the health
No.
department.
No.
I'm not aware of any of those conversations.
Because I do it also for. pool.
Right, okay, yeah.
There's no-
So there's no issues other than we don't know why it's there, other than what they're telling us. why they're not.
I know, they told us they weren't invited.
Well,
So is there a way that, who's in charge of the market now?
So Nicole Balashi and Cassandra Thayer are heading up the market. I've been in meetings. I haven't been in all of them, but hasn't been any conversation about certain people not being eligible, so I can certainly follow up and see what's going on there.
I would, because you've got quite a group that are not happy.
Again, first I'm hearing of it, but I can certainly look into it.
Why the change of hours? Just, this is curious, I'm not.
Yeah, so I know that people aren't specifically happy about it, so it's a staffing issue, we just need to make sure we have enough people that can help set up and break down and all those things, so. We're doing it limited hours this year just because we're new to it, and we're gonna see how this goes, and if we'd like to expand it next year, we can do that, but we just wanna make sure that we have the team in place to be able to do that.
And what about the vendors? I mean, to have their day start that much and go on that.
If the vendors
I mean,
mean
it's a little bit late. To me, are they willing to come? Do they accept?
We have
Those
plenty
hours.
of folks, yeah, we have plenty of vendors. I don't know if that gives them eligibility to do somewhere else during the day. I'm not sure, but we've had a nice turnout.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, so director's report. Otherwise, the HVAC system's all set, which is, thank goodness, and nice
Hallelujah.
and cool in here. So we're looking forward to continuing in a nice cool place. I think the big hiccup at the end was the inspectional services. We didn't anticipate that they needed the building codes to inspect the system, but in fact they did. So that is what we did. We moved all of our programs as much as possible around town. I felt that went well. School kicked in with some nice lunches, and Launch came in with their food truck, which was great. And so, but we're looking forward to having our programs here, where we're all used to having them. And that's all I have. I know that we'll talk about maybe pergola furniture a little bit later in the meeting, but we've been working on that as well.
I was talking to Dan Belongas, who I think is one of our finer chefs, including you, Jack. Anyway, Dan was told that he can no longer prepare bolognese, pasta bolognese, because apparently it was decided that too much pasta is being served at luncheon. And for those of you that have had it, I think it's absolutely
By who?
fantastic meal. That's my question. But he was told he could no longer have pasta bolognese. He's here, he does it once every 3 months. I think it's the best meal in the house. He's upset.
That's a very large question,
Is
but
there nutrition police?
Yeah, right.
Is there nutrition
Yeah,
police
well,
here?
apparently, I don't run the place, obviously. So
So
I don't know
I
what
think,
exactly.
I know that there was conversation about summer
he's
menu.
upset. He came to me upset.
Because we don't want to upset.
One
them.
more person to upset, yes.
There's apparently an issue with hot dogs and bolognese here.
My concern is the whole thing.
Bolognese.
And again, I don't know who made this declaration. Somebody needs to square it.
Okay. I think there was conversation about summer menu and lightening up the summer menu a little bit. That's,
Why does everybody keep trying to make changes? If we were in such a difficult spot, you're head of HR, you should know this, that when that happens, the best thing you can do is stick with what you've got
Yeah.
until it does.
That's right.
It sounds to me like you're trying to change things and you're not leaving them as is.
did you ban the bolognese?
Well,
I didn't have anything to do with the bolognese.
Yeah, but it's just that I keep hearing it. I keep hearing, And something's gotta give here. Are you trained to be an HR for a large group?
Yes, I have lots of experience and.
Okay, all right, no, I'm just asking the question because nobody else does. And, but that being said, then you should be one of the first people to see that leave well enough alone for a bit until.
I understand. I have been more involved in this in the last month, right? And so I understand that there's a lot of changes going on. and we're working hard to steady the ship. I hear what you're saying. Also, we want to empower the staff to make changes that they want to make as well. So it's a balance, right? Because I want the staff to feel empowered and take ownership over their departments. But I also hear what you're saying, that there's a lot of change going on and we need to relax that a little bit.
You do.
Volunteers are paramount.
I hate to tell you how many people have said to me, why is HR running this place? They're here every day. And I
I'm not
said,
here at all, so.
well, she turned around and, they turned around and told me that too. They said, but when you need something, they're not here.
Yeah, of course.
So I just, I think that I'm usually a pretty calm person, but the frustration started to get to me. Which is why I sat down for 2 nights and read this thing from us. Beginning to end. And our mission statement. They could go look at our mission statement, what it is, what we're here for.
Didn't look at it last year.
You should look at it and see what your responsibilities are.
Look at the bone.
Right. Okay.
Anything else in the director's report? All those in favor? All those opposed? Yeah. All right, the liaison report. You mentioned something about burglar furniture.
We have indeed. Lane and I, in conjunction with Megan, have been assiduously research. Lane and I have gone on about 3 field trips, looking at all kinds of furniture all over the place. But we did meet with some success over at Derby Shops at Pottery Barn. Saw some very nice stuff that we liked a lot. It unlike most of the stuff that we looked at, this stuff is very durable. It's very nice looking. It's very comfortable, which to me is a primary consideration because you can get the nicest looking stuff in the world out there, and if it's not comfortable, people
Yeah.
aren't going to sit
They
on
won't
it,
sit
they're going to use it. So we spend a lot of cheap time on checking out sofas and cushions and chairs, and we found stuff that was very comfortable, very attractive. And Megan was nice enough to spend a lot of time with us in figuring out the process of actually purchasing this stuff, because it is as labyrinthine as you can imagine. But we have succeeded in getting a business-to-business approval from the parent company, Williams Sonoma. And we now are authorized to purchase furniture from Pottery Barn. So Lynn and I have.
At a discount.
Pardon me?
At a discount.
At a at an impressive discount. I mean, this is significantly less than what you would walk in and pay for. So we are on the precipice of pushing the button and getting ready to order that stuff. I think you'll be very pleased with it when you see it.
Nice.
Can you detail the stuff?
We are purchasing 2 couches, long couches that 3-4 even people could comfortably sit on. And 4 swivel chairs. That will fit at the end, one end of the pergola that would fill up that whole end portion of the pergola. And at the other end, we're envisioning using the black steel furniture that we currently own with new cushions. And the new cushion is something we are currently looking at. Various furniture, quality and all that varies widely in that stuff. Some really terrible, those aren't the greatest chairs in the world. They do work at the oval tables. They will work for a dining situation up there. So mostly what they need are comfortable cushions for them to make them serviceable. So once we have all this stuff in place, that is going to be a really significant place to.
What about tables?
Well, we have some tables right now, those black tables. And we're also going to be purchasing some like coffee table things, some small tables to put near these chairs, couches again. So it's going to be an experiment just to see how it gets used, how much of the demand for certain different types of furniture are, whether we need some coffee tables or lots of small tables, or things we'll figure out as we go along. But we are researching that stuff as
So what is there a decision-making process you have to go through, then order it?
Yeah, all the decision-making around the business-to-business stuff is done. We're already established with an account. All we need to do is place the order right now. I think the lead time is probably like 3 weeks, something like that.
Based on the fact that you bought 2 couches and 4 chairs and seats 12 people, you just so happen to 12.
So find
Not
your
a
space.
coincidence.
Something in July.
Well,
what about
To
meals?
buy cushions because her warehouse in New Jersey,
With her warehouse.
yeah, I
Problem is, you have to have the stuff. Feel what it's like.
Yeah,
We've
we
we've seen a lot of stuff that look great online. Elaine even bought some cushions that looked great online and tried them out, and then they were just. That's
and
what
they're
happens a lot.
expensive.
What's the approximate cost now?
Well, we're trying to stay under that magic $10,000 number where you then have to jump through extra hoops. So we're gonna be right around $10,000.
You can't buy twice for 6.
No, unfortunately,
Yeah, I know.
Where would that come from?
It will come from the CPC.
Oh, have we applied for that yet?
No, we have a balance.
We have a balance. And just an update on the shade, shade, which was our primary focus. We've gone all over the place with that, but the library, Meg has informed us, has a committee that is studying this intently. And they have a landscape architect who's on the board, who's doing it. So we're going to try to piggyback off of the process they go through.
But we
No
agreed-
decision on that yet.
We agreed to stand down for the fall on
See how the summer goes.
Right. And those black tables should suffice for any programming that we do out there as well.
Right now, we're trying to cast as much light on as Milner Bears.
that. Be careful where that goes. Okay. Bob, anything? You're still here, thanks.
I'm still here, yeah, just a very brief update in regards, I mentioned the other van. After a whole year of not getting one delivered, finally getting one delivered. The van now sits at Quality Van Sales down in Norton, Mass. I spoke with, the folks down there the end of last week. And they believe they're going to be able to deliver that somewhere around July 1st. So hopefully by the time you have your next meeting, we'll do a little show and tell of the new high roof van. So it should be all set to go. And the process for delivery is Ford delivered it to them. They will do the complete build out per the spec. And then they will deliver it to us and go through it from stem to stern here. So if anybody wants to be part of that, I'll just, send out a note, say, they're here or they're going to be here. And this is what we're going to do. So we'll do an acceptance review and make sure that it is exactly what we spec'd out. I have no doubt that these people are down in Norton are very squared away. This is not the only van that they're building out at the present time. If you were to go down there, you would see 2 to 3 dozen of them that they're working on at the present time. So this is the real deal, and hopefully it'll be a vehicle that will service us really well. Right down to, we talked about the wheelchair stuff earlier. This one is spec'd with a wheelchair lift through the back door. Now, you say, well, it's a wheelchair lift. Now, we've got a lot of our seniors right now that are using that to get in and out of the van. The present bus, instead of, because all you have to do is stand on the platform and hold on to the handles and in you go, you don't have to climb the stairs. So I'm trying to get more and more people to use that because it doesn't take but a couple of minutes. So that's what we will have, that ability with this new van. Some of our less agile seniors won't have any problem getting in and out of the vehicle. So it works out really well.
All heading in that direction. Can you, have a review of the van for us, for the board, after our next meeting?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And in fact, what I will do is, I don't know if you saw the spec sheet.
Because I'll let them bring it to a board.
I don't know if you saw the spec sheet for Quality Van Sales. I'll make sure that goes out so you can see exactly what it is that we are purchasing from them.
No, when you bought the Honda, and gave us a chance to look at that. I thought that was a terrific opportunity. Again, we were all here.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep, no problem at all. I'll make sure that, hopefully, as I said, your next board meeting, it'll be here.
okay.
And I won't put it in service until after you've had an opportunity to go through it and make sure that you like it as much as I hope we all will.
That's like add to the topic there. Okay, now, this is where we would cover the HR sub next, every meeting, right, at this point. Liaison reports, or any liaisons that you would like to talk about? Anything?
Yeah,
just-
I need to leave at 11.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, so, I finished my term on the Housing Authority in May, and Bob Jackson ran successfully for my seat. But, so I now report to you the sad news that our director resigned, not under duress at all. It was a very sad decision for us to make it for her. She'd been there a year, and we were very happy with her, but she got an opportunity to support Bridget. She commutes from Plymouth to get an opportunity to go to East Bridgewater for more hours, so more money, and that's where she started her career. So that's what she decided. So she's on July 30th. And that's really too bad. The tenants really liked her a lot. So I haven't been down there to hear their reaction. It was just announced to them. But I'm sure they're not happy. But we are, they are in negotiations with advertised for a new executive director or for a management agreement, which is what we were with Norwell before. We've had they have had three applications. I don't know about
Who's in charge of hiring the directors? Just the three
the
board.
board, or 5 board members,
Five.
5 board members. And
The
they
state
have
not
a person.
involved.
No, and the town is not involved. The state, can advise you. So that's where it stands, and I will, when they hire somebody, I make it. And then also report, I can report on Habitat, because
Yes.
we talked last month about the situation of Habitat. Well, we ended up having our bill day, a week ago, Saturday. And on Jerusalem Road, it was very successful. We had 9 volunteers. I was one of them. I didn't do a whole lot. But it's, the houses are beautiful. I mean, I'll tell you, their doors are a lot better than my doors at Wheelwright Farm. It's very high quality construction. Very careful about, I spent the day cutting and sanding and, touching up woodwork. But the 808 is just about finished. They put the floor in Tuesday. And that person will be moving in June. The other one is not as far along, but also they lost their tenant, so they are in the process of hiring, not a tenant, but.
Qualifying.
I was very impressed. The site, 2 site supervisors were there the whole time we were there. They were excellent. And there's a woman actually who's a site supervisor there 6 days a week on that project. It was a good.
The changeover in personnel, which caused the
Yes,
disconnect with everybody.
absolutely.
Same thing.
I mean, talk about, so I was trying to deal with the volunteer coordinator who I originally had set the date with and then never heard anything. And I'm sending emails and leaving messages, nothing. Finally, I called the executive director and I said, you sign me up or we're out. And this was the week before. I said, we can't hold people to this date if we can't say we're going to do it. And she said, well, that person is out of their job. We don't have anyone in that position. I said, but someone's got to look at the emails and listen to the phones. What's the matter?
Consistent theme today.
Yeah.
Sorry, Karen.
I really, nothing more to update right now.
And you're on.
Yeah, huh?
What's your involvement with the pool now?
I retired.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I did retire, but the pool is open. So it's, right now, it's usually, it's just master's swim because schools aren't. open.
After 40 years, you're no longer underwater.
I'm no longer in the water. I do have a couple of things, can I?
Yeah, but one second, do they They were talking about doing some planting on the side of the hill here.
Right.
Are they still looking in that direction?
I don't know, I'd have to ask. I really don't know. I had only been to one meeting.
I'm sorry.
But I will say- I got a couple of things, and they're. Number one, as far as Wayne Sawchuck is concerned, I think the board needs to make sure that we get either flowers or we get something to whatever the arrangements are. I can check with you just to see, Wayne was so instrumental in helping get this built that you have no idea some of the stuff he went through and did. So his family needs to be respected, in whatever way we possibly can.
So traditionally, I've always sent a large flower arrangement from the board.
Good.
There's. Needs to come out of the gift account, we do that.
Yeah.
So,
Can you make that a form of a motion?
Let's see what the community
okay.
See what the family's
they
gonna
have
do.
done. If, because sometimes they say no flowers or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can make motions to do some.
Yes.
You wanna do
I'd like to Yeah. Make the motion.
Make a motion, please, to note the passing of Wayne Sawchuck in a proper way.
Second.
On the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great.
Then I have one other thing that I was approached by people here. That wanted to know if the board of directors was in a position or would start sending some thank you notes to people. We had a island outside there on Sawyer Street that one of our people donated their horticulture guy to come and do. And it looks beautiful. The guys did a fabulous job. And also you're having star luncheons with star performers to book. And the question was given, are we in some way recognizing these things? Do we send out a thank you card? Do we do something? These people are all volunteering and it makes sense that they be acknowledged for what they're doing. So,
Are you referring to the local chefs?
No, professional.
so the star chefs that are coming in.
Oh, the celebrity
Yeah,
chefs?
celebrity chefs.
I always thought you were so.
Well, special
That was everybody who volunteered.
They're not saying, no, they're not saying special, but they're just saying, they're coming, they're doing it, it would be a nice thing if we sent them a thank you card.
Well, aren't these people
They should
also
all
in
be thanked.
business and this is an advertising?
That's different. Those are the people that run restaurants. Those are,
Isn't that the?
Is that what
no, she, Liza started this program calling it Celebrity Chefs.
Which I thought you were.
Which is just anybody that volunteered that came in, but you know, to give them a little stats. But this is and that's what Diane is talking about. What I was referring to are these local chefs who have restaurants who are now cooking one day a week.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what I'm saying. No, I don't think that that's appropriate. Thank you to the business people.
No, right,
It is
no,
appropriate.
that's not what she's talking about.
You're talking about you.
Yeah,
You're
that's
talking about
what,
him.
that's what she's
Yeah.
talking about.
So we used to have volunteer recognition once a year.
Do we still do it? Okay, just as long as something's being done, it was brought up and they said, and I said, to be honest with you, I have to go for whatever, I don't know, I would handle it.
The town does one town-wide, but elder care, we elder care to the
Yeah.
county.
Yeah, that is a good point, because Friends sponsors that volunteer luncheon. And I don't know if anybody in the office is working towards that luncheon. To look back in the history of accumulating the names of the all of the volunteers. From Baker's Cafe to celebrity chefs. That's one thing to, as well as any of the other things that Patty was working on. Like our 10-year anniversary of the building.
That's
and
still
the
scheduled
other-
for September.
Okay, and then Grandparents' Day was such a huge success last fall that,
Katie has started working on Grandparents' Day
Oh,
specifically. Does anybody know generally when that volunteer event happens?
I can look back at our checkbook.
Okay.
I thought it was in the fall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was involved.
So that's something that we're holding back because Liza.
Right.
Yeah.
Any more liaison? Okay, if now we can move on to, our second round of nominations. We have two offices open, the chairman and the secretary. And what I'd like to do, and again, everybody who's a member, a full member, an associate member, can make a nomination. Nomination does not have to be seconded. And I will announce each office and ask for a nomination 3 times. Then we will move to our election. So, first, for the office of secretary, do we have any nominations for the office of secretary? The second nomination, for office of secretary, I nominate Ellen.
Oh, I don't have to accept. Does she?
We have to advise us if we're secretary.
You know,
I don't think so.
After Rock, how many years? 10, 12?
Yes, no, it's still yours.
we can,
Yes.
Well,
So I'm not accepting that.
no, okay. Okay, a third nomination for secretary. Hearing none, secretary position is open. Now we'll move to chairman. Jim's already been nominated for chairman. I'll ask for 3 more opportunities for nomination. First nomination for chairman. The second nomination for chairman.
he was already not.
It's already.
And the third nomination. Okay,
Sorry, Jim.
congratulations, Jim. On the new chairman. I have been chairman for 2 years. I've had a complete turnover of staff, lost 3 directors. So now it's up to
Nice
you.
going.
I'm sure you can do better than I did. And then as of July, if you will notify the board who your appointed assistant chairman is.
So I just, so you understand, the assistant director is Diana. There it is. Yeah,
She
vice
was
chair
appointed by
Diana.
the chairman.
So
So
she's not appointed by the chairman. The
No.
Vice chair is,
They are elected.
you're elected.
The other offices are elected.
I want to go for.
So she is the vice chair.
Okay, let's go for nominations for vice chair.
There isn't a nomination for vice chair, and that's a business debate.
Right, it's not big.
It's not big.
Okay.
Okay,
There
great.
we go.
So-
Congratulations, Diane.
You did a fine job on that. Great.
1 for 1.
Great appointment. Okay, now we'll move on to our final, if there is anything. Final comment from the board.
What could it possibly be?
As you know, we don't meet in August. I don't know, it's up to
You meet in
you.
July.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do. And it's up to you if you want to change the agenda or times or you want. So it's that. Okay.
9:30 is a good time.
Yeah,
Okay, if we have no general comments, then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Can you get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? We are adjourned. See you in July.